thank you for mentioning Ms. Strong.
No problem.
One thing that stood out with me when I was going through our discipline and our referrals and detentions, you don't have many, and you've mentioned, you like to handle things in-house, your classroom management's great, your students seem attentive and respectful, and that's something that, I mean, it should always be that way with teachers, but I know some of our younger teachers struggle with their classroom management and getting students to pay more attention at all times. I wanted to pick your brain, and if we could, in some of our future trainings or meetings with the staff, utilize some of your classroom management, and just some of the things you use in your class that helps the students stay on track, and so that you don't have to write as many detentions or referrals or anything like that. So one of the things that stood out to me was the red sheets you use, and how do you use your red sheets typically?
Well, I have a stack of red sheets on my desk, and when I'm teaching, if I'm observing behavior in my classroom that is not what I want it to be, I just pick one up. I can carry it with me while I'm still talking. I don't have to stop teaching. I don't have to interrupt my class. I don't have to say to a student, hey, you're misbehaving. Usually that red sheet will remind them that this is a consequence that you will get if
serves as a visual aid.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and that's where, yesterday when I asked you about it, the bottom sheet there is the visual aid that me and my wife developed for just the students that struggle with impulse control and that could benefit from a visual aid like that. So
absolutely.
The fact that your sheets are red, I never thought about printing it on a colored sheet. That's probably something I'm gonna use with these in the future. And I asked you if you use this, and you mentioned the red sheet. I said, well, that worked perfect, especially since your literacy. And what do they do with the red sheet though? What do they?
Well, if they actually earn it, so the first time, of course, I'm just holding it. If the student doesn't straighten up, if their activity continues, or if it's whatever they're doing merits an immediate
too much of a
red sheet.
Yeah.
Like if I had one kid that fell asleep and I couldn't redirect him, he's just straight out, hey, it's a red sheet because you know you're not supposed to do that.
Yeah.
They write their name on the top of it, and then they have to come in at lunch recess and they have to write what behavior they did that was wrong, what they're going to do in the future, why they did it, and then what they're going to do in the future not to have it happen again. And however long that takes them to write that, if it takes one lunch recess, 2 lunch recesses, 5, it doesn't matter. It's until they're finished, and then they're dismissed.
That basically serves the purpose of a detention, and it has them reflect on it. They're learning from their mistakes, and they're doing exactly what they need to be doing, learning and being taught to about that. And I like that. I like how you do that. I didn't realize you used that at lunch, though. I thought it was just something they did in class on their free time. So that's good. So
no, I do it at lunch recess.
It's a penalization and a learning.
If they don't show up at lunch, I give them one chance to mess up there. If they don't show up again, then it becomes a D-haul because they did not do what I told them to do.
Okay.
So
and
that
it accumulates.
and then the red sheet goes with them to D-haul.
Exactly.
So.
Perfect. And Ms. Dunn, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, she absolutely knows.
Great. I'm gonna use that, and I've got that in my notes to share that with, especially the literacy teachers, because they're writing, they're utilizing their skills, and they're applying it.
And I will grade it sometimes. I'll be like, look, this
good.
is
I was
wrong.
I was gonna ask you if you ever used it for any grades.
Oh
or
sure.
Stuff.
Sure. I'm like, hey, we need to work on, and it helps me as an English teacher. Hey, while you're writing this, I can see what we need to work on. You are doing fragments. You're not doing perfect sentences. So it's also helping me to assess their writing.
Good. And that goes right along with our, I asked, and initially when I asked you about our visual aid, you were thinking about the behavior management model. You said you follow it, and I appreciate that. This is not something that everyone necessarily needs, but when we developed it, it was something that helped, especially the newer teachers, understand, all right, what warrants a referral, what warrants detention, or in your case, what in your opinion or in your situation, what warrants a red sheet. So, I do appreciate you using that. With, having said that, I am gonna use some of your tactics, some of the information you gave me, and that they go right along with our visual aid, that you can take your red sheet, walk around with it, never miss a beat when you're teaching. I'm gonna use that with our future meetings with other teachers. I'm also, we just finished, I don't know if you were familiar with our PASS assessment we've done in the past with the students, where we understand, get a better understanding of their feelings about school, their perceived learning capabilities, and I wanted to show you the results with, this is all of 7th grade, and I kind of color coordinated it. Again, me and my wife worked on trying to get this as user-friendly and visual-friendly as possible, and we're figuring out just how to put a standard scale on it for the scoring to, as you can see, these are in green, but the ones up here, I've sorted it to where they're in red, and I'm not sure where to set the standard for the scoring, but you can kind of see the lower scores are in red. Do you have, are any of these names standing out to you as
Yeah.
far as,
The first name, I'm not sure why she's red, because at the beginning of the school year we had some issues. She and I did, but she loves English now. She absolutely, cannot wait to get to class. Once again, it was one of those situations. I actually caught her plagiarizing, and then
I remember that.
she did the whole issue where she wrapped up her hand and
Yep.
and pretended.
Me and Coach Allison had her.
But the thing with them,
Had a
and the
good little chat
reason
with her and Mom.
And the reason why the kids, I think the reason why the kids like me is because I'm firm, fair, and the big thing is I'm consistent. And I just had a girl yesterday that it got a red sheet because she fell asleep in class, and I'm like, hate it for you, because you're a sweetheart.
Yeah.
But if I don't give it to you, I can't give it to anyone.
Rules
And
are
she's
rules.
like, I
Yeah.
understand, Miss Strom. I'm
Perfect.
good with it. And so seeing her name in red really upsets me, because I think we've come a long way to
And
liking
this-
school.
Yeah,
And maybe
this
there's
is
been a
something.
change.
Well, you can't change how some students' attitudes are.
Sure.
I moved my mouse because I needed more room for my tablet, for my pad. But you can see this is just the categories that we've looked at. Response to curriculum. The ones that are in red don't necessarily like it. The attitudes to attendance and confidence in learning.
Gotcha.
But I want to go to the specific questions, and she's still at the I guess the top in this sort, but you can see the questions that she answered specifically. When I'm given new work to do, I feel confident I can do it. She may be a little less confident in her abilities, but it's not just about attitude, it's about perceived learning capabilities too. So I get into trouble during recess or lunch, so she's aware of that, because that's something that she understands. It happens sometimes.
Right.
She feels like learning new things may not be easier for her.
I can see that she would lack confidence. I know that I've been trying to build that confidence up with her. I tell her that, you don't need to plagiarize, because you're really a smart girl.
Yeah.
And, she's now had a really better attitude in my room because of that. So I think that's one of the things that we as teachers sometimes forget to do, is that we have to build up the kids' confidence. Like
Exactly.
today they wanted me to speak in the assembly. If you'd asked me that 3 to 5 years ago, I probably would have said, no,
Somebody
please don't ask
mentioned to me about it, and I said, no, not today. I'll do it. But they didn't ask me, so I'm not going to volunteer for it.
Right.
But that's something that I wasn't very comfortable with a long time ago either.
And now I've just gotten to the point, well, absolutely sure, that's an easy thing. But I may have not have been confident in myself, and I've just had to build that confidence. And sometimes we forget that we have to build confidence in kids.
Yes, ma'am, and I appreciate you sharing, especially with her, because her being at the top of the list, I wasn't sure how that reflected how our survey went, but with what I understand from what you've told me, it feels like it's pretty spot on.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate it.